Hello, my name is Madeleine. Welcome to my presentation on why small fridges make good cities and other considerations. In 2007, architect Donald Chong developed a concept kitchen called Small Fridges Make Better Cities. This idea proposed that the choices we make in our homes can potentially have major impacts on our neighborhoods. The idea is to shop more frequently and locally, requiring us to use our cars less and create a more vibrant environment to live in. The main premise of this idea is that if we can create a culture of smaller fridges in our kitchens, it will have a plethora of positive results in affecting consumerism, our communities, and our environments. What would a smaller fridge mean? Number 1, frequent small shopping trips. It would force us to shop multiple times a week, going to our local bakeries, markets, and grocery shops. Number 2, it would mean that we would have more frequent shops, would mean our food on a daily basis would be fresher. Number 3, more eating out. We would engage with our communities, friends, and family and get out of a regular environment more often. Less space would be required. Food takes up a lot of space. With a more frequent shopping regimen, you wouldn't have to dedicate so much storage to food, especially since your fridge would be half the size. Number 5, it would mean less energy used. If your fridge is smaller, it will use a lot less energy. Currently, refrigerators account for about 15% of household energy costs. Less food waste. If you are regularly buying the amount of fresh food you need, this will account for less household waste. Food waste is responsible for 8% of all global greenhouse gas emissions. That all sounds very romantic and like the perfect solution. Now let's consider it all again from a different point of view. How do most North Americans grocery shop? These are the top 3 factors to have increased as priority during the pandemic: store location, competitive pricing, and store cleanliness. These factors pose the question, is it really realistic to expect that the regular North American is going to be able to go shopping every other day and be able to afford this lifestyle? Not everyone is able to live in neighborhoods that have access to local grocery stores, and they often have to drive quite far. Do small fridges actually make better cities? Our professor has a different take. According to an article written by our professor, Lloyd Alter, small fridges don't make good cities. It's more accurate to say that good cities make small fridges. Number 1, in order for a small fridge to work, your city and neighborhood need to be working for you too, with groceries, bakeries, and all of your food staples within walking distance. Number 2, without these nearby, going to the grocery store is a big task, and it isn't entirely realistic to be shopping more often. Number 3, North American packaging tends to be much larger compared to what they have in Europe, where the smaller fridge is much more common. A carbon fact: if our cities were built around the idea of walking for groceries and not driving, we could have a major impact on CO2 emissions. In a USDA study, they found that if the average family drives 4 miles once a week to their local grocery store, they will be releasing over 17 million metric tons of CO2 per year just from their car tailpipes. So is it actually good cities make small fridges? I say yes. It really comes down to what is available to you. It comes from a place of privilege to have the time and resources to be able to buy fresh multiple times a week and not buy in bulk. Consumers in rural areas often have to drive quite far, meaning going often isn't an option. Big box stores are often much cheaper and are all that some consumers, particularly with families, can afford. Can you really store enough food for a family of 5, 6, 7, or more in one small fridge? It's unlikely. Especially with the rise in grocery prices, real estate prices, and the cost of living overall, it is not always a feasible option to shop locally or at small businesses. There is a fundamental shift in society that needs to happen to make this a realistic option for the masses. What's my conclusion? Being able to shop locally more frequently would have a great effect on lowering the use of cars and overconsumption, but having a small fridge isn't going to make that happen on its own. Cities need to be designed in ways that make this a functional way of living, and people need to be paid a living wage. What we need to do is develop communities, raise minimum wage to a living wage, check if the solutions to reducing carbon footprint are realistic and attainable for the average person. If not, why not? What needs to change?